Galen. It was during this fall's Rosh Hashanah service that your imminent departure hit home. It was maybe my 15th occasion to be reader B there, with Galen as reader A in his place here. In the service marking the beginning of the Jewish High Holy Days of repentance and renewal. To share the sacred space of this chancel with a master of his craft is a meaningful experience. I marvel at your gifts in the pulpit, emotionally resonant, delivered ostensibly without effort, each phrase infused with meaning and the product of a deep intellect and boundless curiosity. Our beautiful sanctuary brings to mind for me many moments like this over the years that my husband Vic and I and our daughter Sarah, who's here, have been in the pews. A sermon or homily delivered by you is a work of art, provocative, requiring a second reading to capture both the breadth and the depth of understanding of a topic or human condition. Let me be clear, you don't do anything half-assed. The chance to work closely with you in my year as president brings back powerful memories. It was 2005. The time was ripe to make a change in the bond of union. Yet, like the decision I wasn't here for to take the cross off the wall some 25 years earlier, removing Jesus from an embedded mantra was not an undertaking for the faint of heart. The pushback was immediate and fierce from a number of congregants. Working with you, the board found a way to move forward. On the day of the congregational vote, Forrest injected some humor in a sermon before an SRO crowd, stating that had it been up to him, we might have given up. Let's be clear again, you carried the water. On this campaign that went on for months on end, you and I spoke regularly on Mondays to digest the dialogue the day before, weigh feedback from a focus group, or think through the mechanics of a poll, or rewrite a congregational letter, or to dig into the politics of getting to a yes. It proved to be a special moment for the church, a time of real discernment, producing meaningful congregations about what this place means to us. The congregation flourished. You embraced the moment. You led us by letting us lead. I've enjoyed watching you in action in so many settings, visiting our 5th grade class with a pile of books in your hands to show that the Bible has many authors, and especially the mood you artfully created at the monthly All Souls at Sundown services that melded your love of jazz and poetry. You're confident but measured, witty but respectful, and have been willing to take personal risks to move us along to a place where we will be just fine. What matters in a church leader is exactly these qualities: a willingness to dig in when it matters and to help the flock find its way. Godspeed, Galen. I'm eager to see what you commit to in your next chapter and to reading that book on envisioning a sustainable and ethical food culture. I will miss you greatly. I hope you will return often to preach and to teach and to enjoy the music you have created here. The world needs your gifts. We need your gifts, and will continue to be the richer for you and Holly among us.
Okay. Good morning. In Hebrew, the word for spiritual teacher is rabbi. I've come here this morning to say thank you to the person who has been my rabbi for decades, Galen Gingrich. Galen's teaching came into focus for me roughly 25 years ago as a youth advisor and then an RE instructor here at All Souls. While teaching theology to the ninth graders in our coming of age program, our Unitarian Universalist principles helped me understand that the interdependence of all things is not an abstraction, it's our daily reality. And as time went on, Galen's sermons about gratitude also became so much clearer to me. I grew to understand my life as a gift for which I could not have asked, one accompanied by an obligation. I believe now that I owe the world a debt for my existence to be paid in service and in love. Subsequently, working as a middle school social worker, I posted quotes on my office walls by Schweitzer and Martin Luther King and Yeats and Alice Walker, Helen Keller, etc. But one of my very favorites on my wall was this from Galen: because we personally take what we need from the people and the world around us, we must take personally what the people and the world around us need. I've also known Galen in many other roles, of course, in my time here and his time here, as much more than a teacher, in meetings as the chief executive of this place, an adult in an occasionally fractious room, as a fundraiser, optimistic, determined, eloquent, a cheerleader for both our heritage and our legacy, and more personally, at times of loss or trial for me and my family, he offered support, sympathy, validation, and love. In times of celebration, like at the wedding of our elder daughter, he was an articulate and joyful celebrant. And then there's Sunday morning, which Judy's already spoken a bit about. Galen can begin from literally anywhere, pulling any thread: science, mathematics, poetry, sports, rock music, movies, politics, history, literature, a list of possibilities as capacious as a curiosity, mining every subject as a means for unearthing and illuminating a larger meaning and an illustration of the connectedness of all. On particularly moving Sundays, in a way that could not have easily comported with his conservative Mennonite upbringing, the subject he began with was himself, his life, his struggles, his vulnerabilities. And for me, those sermons represented Galen at his most human and his very best. It's easier to talk about you than to talk to you for some reason. So Galen, you have earned this retirement. I wish for you the opportunity to fill your leisure time with absolutely nothing, if you choose. But I don't think you will. I don't think you're done being engaged with the world. So whether you're in New York or the Middle East or wherever, I think we can count on you applying your considerable intellect and your deep reservoir of loving compassion, taking personally what the people in the world around you need. So thank you for everything, minister, rabbi, friend. Mazel tov to you and Holly on the birth of your grandchild. Godspeed and God bless.
Good morning. My name is Georgia Wall Gogel, and I have been a member of All Souls since 1986. It is my great honor this morning to share with you a few thoughts about Galen and the profound effect he has had on my life. 30 years ago, when Galen was new to his ministry at All Souls, I was a partner in a New York City law firm specializing in complex commercial real estate transactions. I was good at what I did, but my professional life felt spiritually empty. As I came to church each week and listened to Galen's messages of love, empathy, and compassion, Galen inspired me to radically change my professional life. For the past 20 years, I have led the board of directors of Graham Windham, our nation's oldest not-for-profit child welfare organization, founded by Eliza Hamilton in 1806, shortly after the death of her husband, Alexander. Each year, Graham Windham serves approximately 5,000 of our city's most vulnerable population, abandoned, abused, and foster care children, and desperately struggling families. All of them are victims of poverty, and their lives, before coming to Graham, have been defined by hopelessness, loss, and despair. Committed to the principle that no child or adult's life should be defined in this way, Graham's board made the courageous decision many years ago to create a new model for what child welfare should look like in our city. We invested enormous time and effort in developing new, innovative, and transformative programs for our families and young people. The good news is that these programs are working. Among many other positives, our high school students graduate at 4 times the rate of other foster care youth who do not have the benefit of Graham's programs. And 93% of our previously dysfunctional, unstable, and separated families are now at home, living together safely as families. The takeaway from all of this is that Galen inspired me to commit myself to trying to make a difference in the lives of these struggling young people and their families. It is extraordinarily difficult work, often daunting, at the same time that it is extraordinarily inspiring. Unless you ask, with the millions of children living in poverty today across our city, how can any meaningful improvement be possible? I have a short story to share that provides an answer. It is entitled, "It Makes a Difference," and it goes like this. An artist vacationing on the coast of Spain was walking along the beach early one morning after a storm the night before. The beach was covered with thousands of starfish that the storm had washed ashore. Up ahead, he saw a lone figure picking up the starfish one by one and tossing them back into the sea. As the artist approached the young man, he asked, "What are you doing?" The young man answered that he was saving the starfish from the heat of the rising sun, and that without his help, all of them would surely die. The artist commented, "There are miles and miles of beach and thousands of starfish. How can what you are doing possibly make a difference?" The young man paused, picked up a starfish, looked at it thoughtfully, and replied as he tossed it into the sea, "It makes a difference to this one." Galen gave me the inspiration and courage to try to make a difference in the shattered lives of these young people. And because of Galen, not only my life, but the lives of countless young people across our city have been profoundly changed. They now have self-confidence and a belief in the future that they never had before. Loss and despair have been replaced with promise and the hope in all of the possibilities that await them. Galen, I am deeply grateful to you for the ministry you have provided to all of us at All Souls for so many years. I am deeply grateful for the many ways that you, as our minister, our confidant, and our friend, have inspired us to define our lives by the ideals of love, empathy, and compassion that you have always championed. We will be forever grateful for the gift of you to this wonderful home we know as All Souls. Your spirituality and your treasure will always be a cherished part of each one of us. Thank you, and God bless.
Good morning, and please excuse the especially husky voice this morning. When 9/11 struck New York City, when Hamas attacked Israeli citizens, when George Floyd was pinned to the ground. Galen helped us to cry out in anger and then to understand our outrage with historical context before suggesting what we as individuals might do. To experience one of Galen's sermons is to go on a wondrous journey. His brilliant interweaving of seemingly disparate elements is as surprising and erudite as it is profound. You find nuggets of precious learning, not least of which is a lesson on the root meaning of words that have come to English through ancient tongues. Sometimes the sermons have developed from weeks, if not months and even decades of theological study, copious research, and careful pondering. At other times, they have emanated from sudden revelation over the events of the past week, delivering a message crafted in the late hours of a Saturday evening. By drawing often upon personal experience, his early days in a Mennonite family in Delaware and Arkansas, for example, and his experience as a father and as a husband, Galen pulls the listener into the sermon from the outset. And he frequently illuminates his themes with rich examples from poetry, literature, or contemporary musical lyrics. And how about his pacing? Galen's affinity for poetry, in fact, has been a hallmark, as several have said before, of his tenure at All Souls. Not surprisingly, therefore, poetry plays an important role in many of the sermons, and they are a lovely counterpoint to his scholarly references to history and science, which equally enrich his Sunday messages. Unlike, however, practitioners of pompous traditions of the pulpit, Galen places himself alongside us congregants, we imperfect beings and sinners, and he joins us as one who is being challenged by his own exhortations. This is refreshing, and it reminds us to step down from our own ego thrones as we ponder how we can join the menders of a broken world. Galen elegantly straddles the spheres of science and art, of statistics and mystery as he crafts his sermons. I suppose you could say he brings us both chapter and verse. In this way, the listener is assured of studious research having informed his assertions, but equally we find ourselves moved by the abstract beauty of the world's poets, both modern and classical. All Souls has always prided itself as a welcoming congregation. Although in the history of All Souls, all 10 senior ministers have been male, Galen is often eloquent about the importance of the women who shaped his own life and the impact of feminism on his own thought. He also champions women in all aspects of life in a democracy. When Galen talks about his wife, Holly Atkinson, or his daughter, Zoe Gingrich, he is not infrequently brought to tears. In this regard, thank you, Galen, for officiating at my marriage with Susan, who unfortunately has a worse condition than I do and couldn't be physically here today, but I know she's there. While All Souls is a place of privilege, and Galen counts himself, although of very humble beginnings, as among the privileged, he never lets us forget the hungry, dispossessed, or mistreated fellow humans among us in our world. We are exhorted to feel their suffering, oppose their oppressors, and rise from our own privileged seats and do something about it. We will miss these words, Galen. We will miss you.